Hey guys, it's Dan with Adventure Today. Hope you're doing great. Today we're doing another mile per gallon challenge in my 2018 Ford Expedition versus my 2017 Super Duty. So we're gonna start the test right here. So I'm gonna zero out the trip computer. And here's what we're doing on this test. So I've received quite a few questions about my mile per gallon challenges that I've done on various vehicles. And I had a few questions come through the other day asking me to compare this Expedition at 75 miles per hour versus my Ford Super Duty at the same speed. Now, I've done other mile per gallon challenges, and I guess you could call them comparisons, on the same road driving at lower speeds, but not at 75 miles per hour. And so right now I've got the cruise control set to 75. I'm in a 65 here, so hopefully I don't get pulled over or anything like that. I think I'll be okay. But anyway, I'm gonna run this challenge here for, this has got to be about 20, 21, 22 miles. So we'll be consuming a good, at least a gallon of fuel, I would guess, on this challenge. And I've picked a pretty good time of the day here where I shouldn't hit too much traffic and keep this pretty consistent between this vehicle and our Super Duty. So now I think part of what's created the interest in this challenge is that that surprisingly at 65 miles per hour, this Ford Expedition, and which weighs probably about 6,000 pounds, and it's more of a fuel efficient vehicle with a 10-speed transmission and a 6-cylinder EcoBoost motor. It's more the drag coefficient is better than what you would see in a pickup truck, and it's really, it's not geared towards mile per gallons or high efficiency, but you would think that an SUV like this with a 6-cylinder engine would do a little bit better than a 8,300 pound Super Duty does. But surprisingly, at like 60-65 miles per hour, they are very, very similar. Now, I did a mile per gallon challenge at the extreme on my Super Duty, driving along at 45 miles per hour, and I got a rating on that, mile per gallon rating of just a little bit over 30 miles per gallon. I can't remember the exact number. I want to say it was like 32 miles per gallon. But that speed and with the torque that motor has, it basically kept that engine completely out of boost, and so it was just running as basically a diesel V8. A lot of people just can't believe that the vehicle got that kind of gas mileage, but or diesel mileage, but it did. And it was mainly because of the speed I was at and where the revs were and keeping it out of boost. Now, this piece of road that I've chosen for this challenge, if you can pick this up here, it's got a couple 2 or 3% grades up and down. There's probably like maybe 5, 6, 7 of these on the round trip. Maybe like, well, I guess it'd be like 8 or maybe 10 of these on the round trip. Because I'm going to end this test right at the same exit that I started it at. And so we're going to see these transmissions maybe do a little bit of shifting. You're going to see some boost come in and out. There's probably about 5 miles of relatively flat highway each direction. So I think this is a pretty good mixture of hilly terrain and flat terrain to run this challenge. So I'm running 87 octane fuel in my EcoBoost motor here, and so I'm not doing anything fancy with tire pressures. Or all running standard tire pressures of about 40 psi on this vehicle, and the standard 60-65 that's on my Super Duty. So we're just running these vehicles. They're purely stock. There's not been any kind of fancy engine tuning or anything, and just see what they can do. So so far we're just about 5 miles into this test, and we're averaging about 16.5 miles per gallon. So now we just downshifted on this grade here. This is probably about a 3% grade. We're generating some boost. We're down in 8th gear, and we're cresting here at the very top. So we're gonna have a couple of those. We got another big hill coming up right there, and so I'm gonna shut up for now so this isn't a 30-minute recording, and I will keep the video running though, so just so everybody knows I'm not playing any tricks or doing anything funny. At this point in time, I have no idea what the results are going to be on this test. I can only guess that the Expedition's going to edge out the Super Duty, but that's purely a guess, although I think there's a pretty high chance that's going to happen, but it's purely a guess. And but I'm going to keep the video running on this so that you know that I'm not doing anything funny. I will run it through fast forward, just so you don't have to sit through, 20-25 minutes of me driving this vehicle. But when I get down to this exit, I'm gonna get off on the exit and then come right back on the highway, and then I will see you once we get off the road here at the end of the test. Thanks a lot. Okay guys, we're at the halfway mark, and we are at 19.3 as we just go right back across the highway and work our way back to where we just came from. So I'm gonna turn another left here, and all right, so entering back on the highway here, we're at 19 miles per gallon. That was 10.9 miles. I'm just gonna hit the resume button on the cruise control, right back to 75 miles per hour. And we'll be back at you here in about another 10 miles. Thanks. Okay, we got about half a mile or so to go till we get to the very end, and right now we're at 18.8. You can see that okay there, 18.8 miles per gallon. It's actually come down a little bit. It got up to about 19 and a half right after I got on the highway, and then we started to hit those hills, and then the miles per gallon started to get hit again, just because the engine was downshifting into 8th gear, and it was generating quite a bit of boost. And when that happens, you're in the high single digits for fuel mileage. And so, looks like actually now we got about a mile to go. So, that kind of took a hit to the miles per gallon a little bit. But, as we're here in the flats, our instant miles per gallon are, let's just say it's averaging out about in the middle, the mid-20s. And so now, do I think that if you were going 70-75 miles per hour on completely flat road, could you get mid-20s mile per gallon? Probably not. When you actually calculate it at the pump, it'd probably be a little bit less than that, but I'm guessing like 22, 23, or maybe even 24 could be possible. So, but here we are, we're coming off to our exit, and on this challenge right here for the Expedition, we're gonna get a number somewhere in the 19s. And so it would make sense that our miles per gallon would even out from the halfway point to where we are now, since it's the same exact stretch of road, just going two different directions. But as we're coming here to a stop, we are, in fact, at 19.3. And so 19.3 is the number for the Expedition on this trip. Not too bad, I would say. It's a fuel-efficient vehicle, 6,000 pounds, and this trip was 21.8 miles round trip. So, it's a pretty good, I think, comparison of what the vehicle is capable of from a mile per gallon perspective. I had, a couple times of accelerating up to highway speed there, a very short amount of time at a stoplight, and then just decelerating back to the end of the test. So anyway, next up, the 2017 Ford Super Duty. It's coming next, hang tight. Okay guys, we're in the Super Duty, and we're getting ready to reset the trip computer here once I get on the highway. Now, I've reset this trip computer 140 miles ago, 139.6, and I've averaged 17.2 miles per gallon over that time period. you know, that has some errand running around town, stoplights and so forth, and it does have some highway, but you know, that might be a little bit of indication of where we're going on this this challenge here. So as soon as we can pull out onto that entrance ramp, we will get going. But I haven't done anything to this Super Duty. This is a purely bone stock Super Duty, nothing with the intake, nothing with the engine tuning. Right when I hit this concrete strip is where I hit the button. Button is down, we're resetting, and now I've zeroed out the miles per gallon, and we're just accelerating at a normal rate up to 75 miles per hour here, and we will see what this truck does. So I'm very curious to see how this is going to come out, because we're comparing modern day technology of a 3.5 liter EcoBoost motor, and today and age, when car manufacturers, or even race cars for that matter, are going to a high performance motor, they're going to V6s and they're turbocharging those motors. So that's, you know, in a similar fashion, that's what Ford has done with the 3.5 EcoBoost. It's in the Expedition. Now the 6.7 liter Power Stroke diesel that's in this F-150, you know, I know they try to make this engine as fuel efficient as possible, but this thing is really a beast, and it's built for torque, and it goes into all kinds of vehicles that are on the road doing heavy work every single day. So its main mission in life is toughness, durability, hauling heavy loads, and the transmission, I have no idea how long this transmission's been around. It's the 6R140 transmission. It's been around for what, 10 years, maybe 12 years, 15 years, something like that. But it's just an old school 6-speed automatic that's getting ready to be replaced, I believe in the 2020 model year Super Duty, to a modern version 10-speed transmission. So we're really comparing old school diesel and maybe some modern technology in the diesel motor, but for the most part, this is just a pickup truck. Nothing that fancy about it. It's just a pickup truck against a modern day Ford Expedition. So I'm going to shut up now, and I'll come back to you when we get to the halfway point in about 6 or 7 more minutes. But I'm going to put this video to high-speed forward motion so that you don't have to sit here that whole time. But I will not turn the camera off. Thanks. All right, guys, we are coasting into this left-hand turn to get back on the highway and go the other direction. We are at the halfway mark, and the Expedition so far is winning. So we are at, what is that, 17.7 so far for the Super Duty, and got a very similar stop here. So just maybe a second or two longer at that stoplight for the Super Duty. And so I think that's a pretty close enough comparison for what we're trying to accomplish here today. And we'll let this truck go by, and then we will jump back on the highway and hit cruise control. So here we go. I hit resume. We're going back to 75 miles per hour. And I'll tell you a little analysis so far of what I've noticed or picked up on is, number one, when hitting resume from about 20 miles per hour, the Super Duty accelerates a lot more aggressively. So that's number one. Number two, though, on the hills, the Super Duty has not needed a downshift one time. And it has generated a little bit of boost, not a lot, but a little bit, where the Expedition was generating a lot of boost, and it downshifted from 10th to 8th gear on almost every hill. So let's call that 8 different times the engine downshifted. And so when it did that, you got instant mile per gallon ratings around 6, 7, 8. When we're on those similar hills in the Super Duty, the fuel mileage does drop a little bit, but it's dropping to maybe 9 or 10 miles per gallon. So it doesn't drop nearly as much, and that probably just has to do with efficiency of the diesel, not needing to work nearly as hard, going up those hills just because of the torque curve built into this motor, and you know, its real mission in life, which is low RPMs, high torque applications. So anyway, I will shut up again, and I will see you here in about another 9 miles, 7, 8 miles, and I will fast forward the video once again. Thanks a lot. Okay guys, here we are with 1 mile to go, and the expedition is going to win by a not insignificant margin. So we are right now at 17.5 miles per gallon, and I am just coming up here to the exit. So, you know, so this loop is a pretty good loop because you're getting just about the same exact miles per gallon no matter what direction you go, which tells us that it's relatively flat overall. If there was a significant, you know, downward elevation to the halfway point, or uphill elevation to the halfway point, then you would see the miles per gallon change one direction or the other, depending on if you're going mainly uphill or mainly downhill. But this seems to be a relatively flat bit of terrain here, because as I'm slowing down into this exit, we are again at 17.7, and I will try to snap a picture when I get to the bottom, as long as traffic will allow. And okay, we're at 17.8. 17.8, so not too bad. So, you know, this is probably a result that could have been guessed by most everybody that might be watching this video, and that, you know, the diesel motors and a vehicle that weighs, you know, 40% more with even though it has a fuel efficient diesel motor, the truck does weigh 40% more approximately, and it's not as fuel efficient from a drag coefficient perspective. That vehicle at higher speeds is going to suffer from a mile per gallon perspective, but at lower speeds, I think you would see that the diesel motor would do better than the gasoline motor, especially if you're keeping that diesel motor out of boost. Just because diesel motors do run so efficiently. I should probably do one of those extreme challenges at 45 miles per hour on the Expedition and see how that vehicle comes out to prove my theory. But my guess is that the Expedition would come in with a lower number than the Super Duty would, only because diesel motors, everything else being equal, are more fuel efficient. Now, things are not equal between these two vehicles, because of course the Super Duty weighs 40% more. It's not as streamlined, and it's got older technology, but I do believe that to be true. So anyway, it's kind of interesting, I think, comparison between these two vehicles today, and that the Expedition did do quite a bit better. So that's about another 1.5 miles per gallon. If you were to extrapolate that over the life of the vehicle, you probably see some relatively decent cost savings in fuel, plus lower maintenance costs associated with a gasoline motor compared to a diesel. So if a family's out there trying to decide, do I get a full-size Super Duty type pickup truck that meets my needs from a family perspective, or do I get an Expedition? And if you're looking at the cost of ownership, you're probably better off, not only on a maintenance perspective, but also on a fuel cost perspective, by going with the gasoline motor. Anyway, thanks for being here today, everybody. I appreciate it. I know some of these challenges might seem a little bit ridiculous or a little bit unorthodox, but I get questions from my subscribers or people that are watching my videos, and so I want to, deliver answers where it's possible, and so this was one of them. But anyway, please like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't already. We got more content coming out. Appreciate you being here today. Thank you so much, and have a great day. Okay, take care. Bye.